What is going on, guys? My name is 4G. So today I wanted to talk about the idea of a Chapter 3 OG season, because a lot of people, of course, are anticipating the idea of a Chapter 3 OG coming out later this year. There's no leaks or anything as far as I'm aware, but regardless, it's just pattern recognition, of course. You know, we had Chapter 1 OG in November of 2023, and then, of course, Chapter 2 Remix in 2024. So, you know, it would make sense for November 2025, we have Chapter 3 OG or Chapter 3 Remix, whatever they would call it, whatever they would do with it. So honestly, I can see them doing that, okay? But there are two different types of Fortnite player in the Fortnite community that I've seen when it comes to this particular topic. There are the people that really love this idea and they really want to see Chapter 3 return, and they also believe that it's been almost 4 years, and by the time it does come out, it will be 4 years since Chapter 3 released. There are the players that think that that has been a long enough time for an OG season, a return to this. And then there's also the players that think that there's absolutely nothing OG about Chapter 3, and a return would not be anything special in comparison to something like Chapter 1 or even to an extent Chapter 2. Although I don't believe that the Chapter 2 remix really was that great, because they kind of changed it up to an extent. It wasn't exactly like Season OG in 2023, where it kind of felt like an actual pretty good return to form. Also, it was the OG map. It's just a totally different experience, and it was the first time they ever did that, so it was just a lot more special than the second time they did it, and it'll be a lot more special than the third time that they will do it, okay? So I'm not exactly sure how that would work, and honestly, I do kind of feel like I kind of do fit into that second option, where I don't think the Chapter 3 is really that OG necessarily, and I do think that there are potentially better ways that they could bring back these maps instead of just bringing them back in this OG form for 1 month out of the year. I don't exactly know if that is a long-term thing that they can keep doing. I mean, I guess they could. I just don't think, though, that that is a great strategy in the long term. That being said, I do think the Chapter 3 is a really solid map. I remember at the very end of Chapter 2, because I was very bored of the Chapter 2 map, they did not change very much, or they did change some things here or there, but for the most part, none of the changes actually stuck around season after season, and it just made for a very boring experience if you played through the entirety of Chapter 2, and I grinded Chapter 2. I might have even put more time into Chapter 2 than Chapter 1. I don't even know. I played a lot of Chapter 1, but Chapter 2 was technically longer than Chapter 1. It was over 2 years long, and that is why I am very glad that we now have 1-year chapters, because it just keeps things fresh, keeps things interesting. But regardless, this is not a video talking about Chapter 2. I was just trying to say that going from that, where the map was just pretty much all grasslands, it was just very one biome and that is it, to the Chapter 3 map where we had the desert biome, the jungle biome was back, there was some snow, and it actually ended up being a snow biome after the winter event happened, and it was just fantastic. And that was just Season 1. Eventually, we also got a mushroom biome, then the chrome started spreading throughout the map. It was actually a pretty good map that I think got ended a little too short, because it was the first chapter map that got cut off after Season 4. So yes, I would like to see this map return at some point, especially because of the Season 3 version of the map. Not everyone agrees with this, but I actually really did like the mushroom biome. I really did like that whole vibe that the map had at that point in time. There was a lot of variety to the different parts of the map, so it would be nice to see this particular map make a return at some point. But again, I don't think that needs to be done in that specific way. I don't think it needs to be done through an OG season. In my opinion, I think we can throw the OG seasons out, and I think we should bring back the idea of map rotations, okay? Exactly like Fortnite Reload is right now. Fortnite Reload is getting the Chapter 2 map, okay? Not literally the Chapter 2 map, but a reload version of the Chapter 2 map. And it looks fantastic, honestly. I'm very glad, and I am looking forward to being able to play on that, especially because they put the best POI from Chapter 2 right in the center of the map, Slurpy Swamp. It looks absolutely fantastic because of that. But anyways, the point is, that right there is an example of how they could bring back these maps. A map rotation system. We don't always need to be playing on the Chapter 6 map, for an example, or in the future, the Chapter 7, Chapter 8, whatever it might be. I think a map rotation system is always going to end up happening at some point. Even if it's taken this long, I do believe that at some point they will add a map rotation system to the regular Battle Royale playlist, because there's just so many maps. At this point, there's more maps in the regular Battle Royale than there are for Reload, and yet Reload has a map rotation system, but not the main Battle Royale. I just don't agree with that personally. I think that the best way that they could bring back Chapter 3, Chapter 4, even Chapter 5, if you like that map, they could bring these back, and any future map that ends up not being the newest map down the road, through a map rotation system. And you don't have to always have every single map available all at once. They could vault certain maps for each season and then unvault it the next season. Have a cycle, keep things interesting. Other games already do this, and I think it works out pretty well. It keeps things fresh, keeps interesting, and I think when it comes to a Battle Royale, you really do need to do that, especially because, I mean, that's just kind of how Fortnite is. That's why they change things up all the time. They always want to keep things interesting. Well, I think this is a great way to do that, and it's also a great way to reuse some of that content and allow us to revisit some of this stuff. And I think they could definitely do that for like Chapter 7, for an example, it could be like a Chapter 7 brand new feature, new map rotation system for the main Battle Royale. I don't know, something like that. Then we bring back the Chapter 3 map through that. Now, the only problem with that is we wouldn't have the exact loot pool as Chapter 3, so maybe that isn't the best solution overall. I'm just thinking about the map itself because that's the main part for me. That's the main reason I wanted to see the original map back in the day return, is just because I actually like the map itself. I like the POIs. I like everything about the terrain, all that stuff, rather than just the loot pool. I don't exactly know, but either way, going back to the idea of a season OG for Chapter 3, honestly, I could see it happening. I don't see why they wouldn't do it at this point. Like I said, basic pattern recognition will show you that they did Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and now they're probably going to do Chapter 3. The only reason I would think they might not is because Chapter 2 wasn't as popular as Chapter 1, although that was probably anticipated because, of course, can't really beat the first time you ever bring back an old map like that in Fortnite, especially being the actual original map. Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat that, so maybe that was anticipated. I don't exactly know, but either way, my point is, I think it would be interesting to see a Chapter 3 OG, even though I don't exactly agree that it's OG, but it doesn't really need to be, I guess, in order to bring it back. Or I would like to see a map rotation system being added to the game so we could see it that way. But I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you guys enjoyed this video, a like would be greatly appreciated. If you're new here and you like videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.